Big change for the Sabres. They relieve GM Kevyn Adams of his position as general manager. Elevate senior advisor Jarmo Kekalainen. We've talked plenty of Bills today. We will continue to do that. Howard's going to pick the Bills coming up, I believe, next segment. And I say I believe because I haven't seen him in the building yet. Usually he's here by now. So he's scheduled to pick the Bills tomorrow, next segment at 8:30.
So look at this. 2 people in one show that would remember the last time the Sabres hired an experienced GM.
Who's that?
Paul and Howard.
Oh, right.
You got to be old enough to remember, right, Paul?
Yeah, yep. That was the last time was Scotty Bowman.
It's a long time ago.
46 years ago.
And the first time was the first GM, Punch Imlach, who was the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Scotty Bowman, not of the Montreal Canadiens. It was the expansion St. Louis Blues.
So this is only the third time?
Third time.
Nice.
All right.
Well, it happened, so that's good.
I mean, some had NHL, like John Muckler was an NHL head coach, but he wasn't an NHL GM before he got to the job in Buffalo.
Well, I'd imagine, Paul, you are not surprised that we got the news that we did yesterday?
No, I mean, talking to you guys last week, it was, as I kept telling you, it's got to stop. It had to happen in the weekend. It just was, even with the winning streak, I mean, it was the first time they've won 3 games in a row all year, and that's fine, but it's just, you look at it, it's not working. In 5.5 years, it's been a straight line of the bottom of the standings, 31st, 24th, 20th, 22nd, and 26th. Here they are 24th. You know, I didn't add in the standings from yesterday. Maybe it's changed, but when yesterday started, they were 24th, and that's just not good enough in any sense of the word. It's just they're no better now 5.5 years later than they were when Adams started, and arguably you could say they're worse. You know, so he can't say he didn't get a fair shake. I mean, most GMs with that kind of a record don't get 5.5 years.
Yeah.
And so he can't say he did not get a fair shake from Terry Pegula. He got a very fair shake, and it was absolutely time to move on.
Well, they've moved to Jarmo Kekalainen, which I think, Paul, is not a surprise, right? When he got the job as senior advisor, many thought he'd be the next GM if, in fact, they acted and moved on Kevyn Adams. So from senior advisor to running the team. And I wonder what his first move will be. I mean, is he just going to hang out for a while and see what's going on? Because Sabres fans will probably have an appetite to see something that shows there's a new leader in charge. And, you know, that might require some patience. But Joe and I have been talking about ultimately the decision at coach might determine a lot. Not that it has to happen right away, but what is Jarmo allowed to do? What does the coaching staff look like? What kind of staff can he hire? Because if it's just a change at the top and Kevyn Adams is gone and Jarmo's in, that might be unsatisfying for a lot of Sabres fans, I think.
Well, Lindy Ruff is Terry Pegula's coach, so if he wants to change the coach, he's going to have to convince Terry Pegula of it. For me, I think hands down the first thing he needs to be paying attention to is Alex Tuch. I think he needs to get involved with that. Now, Kekäläinen's been around. I know that Kevyn Adams said he's going to be based out of Columbus. I don't know when he went to Columbus because I saw him at almost every game. Rode in home. He was always around. You know, and he was around during training camp. He was around. As I said, I don't know how much time he spent in Columbus. So he knows what's going on. But I think that is the biggest thing for the organization right now is Alex Tuch and getting him re-signed and figuring that out, or making a decision. This isn't going to happen. We need to start looking to move this guy, which would be a disaster for this organization. And Kekäläinen has to know that.
Why would that be a disaster? Is it just because Tuch loves the Sabres?
It's because the fans love Tuch. I mean, he is a very well-liked player on this team. He's from the area, you know, has wanted to be a Sabre. Fans really like him, really want him around. And it would just signal to the fans that these guys aren't serious. You know, even if it's Tuch that doesn't, you know, decides he doesn't want to stay here, they would just and I think it would also signal a mass exodus out the door. Now, I want to stress, Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson have never said to me, well, if he leaves, we're leaving. That's just me saying if Tuch leaves, I think the exodus out the door is get us out of here.
Maybe. The thing I wonder, Paul, like I feel like if Tuch had left on Kevyn Adams' watch, that would have been a disaster. If Jarmo decides, I don't want a player of this age who struggles to maybe stay healthy sometimes, to sign a 8-year contract well above market value because he knows we have to sign him. Like Jarmo might be someone that in that spot doesn't feel an obligation to bring this player back. And, you might be right about like an exodus or other players not buying into that. If there are other plan as a secondary, like what happens after Tuch, I've got space for that. I don't think it has to be an absolute disaster if he leaves. I mean, it's been a disaster most of the time he's here too.
I think it will be. I think the players are so tired of losing. I just can't tell you how down everybody was after that Philadelphia loss. They were just like, this sucks. We just keep losing, and they're part of the losing. I mean, There's no question about that. And as far as Alex Tuch being injured, he played 82 games last year. The year before, he only missed 7.
Okay.
I think maybe that's in the rearview mirror. I mean, that was a problem for him for a couple of years. But with the Sabres, he's played 82, 75, 74. His first 2 years with the Golden Knights, he played 78 and 74. It was basically the 3 years in between where he had that. And that's why I say about Norris, too. You just never know when a player shakes that, if they ever do.
Right.
Some don't, some do. Some do shake it. They have all sorts of injury problems, and then all of a sudden that's the end of it, and they're fine. I would say Tuch right now is in there. This year he's played 31 of the games, and the one he missed was because he was sick. He actually came out for warm-up and then just couldn't go. That's – I just wanted to,
One thing to your point, like to add to this, one thing I have noticed over the years too. This is a Tuch adjacent kind of point. Mm-hmm. For a while, the Sabres were allergic to players that had any age. They were afraid of anybody that was 28 or older. Like, oh, that's not in our timeline. And I've kind of started to notice how the NHL around the league, good teams, they're not afraid of players that are 32, 34, 35. Like if you can play, you can play. And maybe Jason Zucker showing up and showing them, like, I can still play and be good and be productive at that age. Like, maybe that one thing that Jarmo will think here is more veterans, more older players. Like, these are going to be important to have, so you would not be as afraid to sign someone of Tuch's age to a long-term deal.
Well, Jeremy, you know who just raised their hands as you said that? The Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
There's a perfect example right there of all the players they re-signed in the offseason and the ages and length of contracts that they signed them for. They weren't afraid at all to do that. And that's what I say with Tuch. Do you want to sign a guy who will be 30 for 8 years? Probably not. But I just think you have to. I just think this is a player. Plus, he's a good player. I mean, How long will he be a good player at age 30? I don't know. Some guys are still good players at 38. Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, there are others you can name. Some have lost it by that age. You don't know where it's going to be, how long he'll be the player that he's been. But, he has scored 36 goals for the Sabres twice, and including last year. And I think if this were to get done, I think lately he's actually been on a pretty good roll for the Sabres. So if this were to get done, I think, he might get rolling again.
Yeah. Do you feel like, Paul, Jarmo's presence helps their case in if there is convincing that needs to be done on his front, that they might have an easier time convincing him to stick around long-term with Jarmo instead of Adams?
Well, where is this rub? Is it Terry Pegula, which I think it is? I don't know that as fact, but is it Terry Pegula who doesn't want to pay Tuch? Because somebody in this organization, either Terry Pegula or Adams, thought they had leverage on Alex Tuch, and they have none. So whoever it was, and if it's Terry Pegula, then Jarmo has to convince him. I don't know if he has to convince Alex Tuch about it, but Alex Tuch basically is going to get what he wants, and if he doesn't, he can go. It's just, that's where maybe the convincing has to be done. Maybe Jarmo has to convince Terry Pegula that for the sake of the organization, this is a player that needs to be re-signed. And you know what you can say too? You have a bargain in Tage Thompson at 7.1?
Yep,
7.2,
7.1.
7.1. You have a bargain there. So if you have to pay Tuch, let's say 10.3, and Terry Pegula thinks that's too high, well, the salary cap's going up by quite a bit, and you've got an absolute bargain in Tage Thompson, who can't get out of the contract. You can't renegotiate it. So, and that contract's going to be going for a while. So you can look at it that way, too, that at the end of the day, you can get the two players for about what you probably would have wanted to get them for. I just think that needs to be the first thing. The second thing is never have three goalies on your roster again like this. That has to be figured out. If you want to keep Ellis, that's fine. I would keep Ellis if I were them, and I would probably be looking to trade either one of the other two. I'd probably be listening on both of them. Not to trade both of them, but wherever I would get the best deal, I would make that deal to get them down to two goaltenders. But, it's not the end of the world if they waive Ellis. I just kind of like Ellis. I think he's going to be a good goalie in the NHL from what I've seen so far. But if they waive him, they waive him. So what? It's just you've got to end this three goalie thing to never be revisited.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what they would get offered for Luukkonen. Is that wrong? Like, would there be an offer for him?
Yeah, I think other teams. First of all, I think the contract is a good contract for a goaltender. If there's another team out there that believes in this kid, well, he's not a kid anymore, but to me, he's a kid. And to get a starting goaltender for less than $5 million, if you believe in him, I think the contract is not a hindrance at all. That is not a high contract for a goaltender. So maybe it is for him, but if somebody's going to trade for him, that means they believe in him and figure, well, if he plays for our team, Linus Ullmark, and, he's going to turn into a good goaltender. Look at the team he's playing for. A lot of people might feel that way. Linus Ullmark wasn't a really good goalie till he went to the Boston Bruins, and got with the goalie coach with the Bruins and fixed a few things, and then he became a really good goalie. So there might be so it might have been the same thing said with Linus Ullmark before he left Buffalo. Who'd want him type of a thing. And he's turned into a good goalie. So I think there might be a market for him out there, but you don't know until you find out and get out there and start talking to teams.
Goalie, in some semblance, Paul, I think will be one of the things, we talked about this earlier, that Kekäläinen needs to get right. It really ends up leading to Adams' downfall of a lot of other things, of course, that in 5.5 years, they never really figured it out. And honestly, he never really took a swing. Like, it was just kind of, well, we're waiting for Luukkonen to do it, or we're waiting for Levi to do it. Because other than acquiring Levi in the Reinhart trade, they never really attacked that position at all. And I wonder, it doesn't have to come this year, but at some point, it will be important, I think, for Kekäläinen to figure out that position the way Adams never did.
Adams thinks he did figure it out. He thought he had two really good goalies in Levi and Luukkonen, and his idea was, I have to figure out which of the two is going to be better and be the goalie of the Buffalo Sabres. Think about it. He handed Levi the job twice. Didn't earn it, just handed it to him. Luukkonen had those 35 really good games where his numbers were some of the best in the NHL the year before. In my mind, he had won the job there. And then he comes and with the Buffalo Sabres, and he's alternating with Devin Levi. And if I'm Luukkonen, I'm like, excuse me? What has he done to earn the spot of alternating as the number one goalie here? I would not have been happy if I were Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen at the time, and I don't think he was. Because it was just handed to Levi. And then they figured out that, well, Levi's not ready. We better maybe send him to Rochester, something they hadn't done and should have done. And, then now he's starting to develop in Rochester. I think Adams learned a little bit and got better at developing players and keeping them in Rochester for a little bit instead of rushing them. Dylan Cousins never spent one game in the American Hockey League. Really? And I know Owen Power is the number 1 overall pick. I don't think it would have killed him to go down to Rochester for a while. Once you got to look at him and see, well, maybe he's not quite ready. Maybe we should, go down. And they didn't do that. And a lot of the other guys weren't down there long enough. And I think they learned from it. And now guys are getting a good run down in Rochester, and I think it helps them. Kulik would be a good example of, had a good run in Rochester, and then, came up to Buffalo and was improving as he was going along. And so that was part of it too. But this just forced Levi into the spot. Here you go, it's yours. And if you're Luke, and it's like, wait a minute, what is this? Why is this kid just getting thrown into the position and did nothing to earn it?
Paul Hamilton on the Sabres moves. We expecting more moves, Paul? Coming days?
Well, I can tell you, if we look at the resume of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Kekäläinen was not afraid to be bold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of trades aren't made at this time of year. A couple have just been made recently, some big ones. But we're coming up on the holiday freeze, which I believe is the 19th, that you can't do anything. And this is the time of year where you don't see a lot of trades, but I'm certainly he'll be involved in talking to people and trying to make moves. I mean, I think he's a smart enough man to realize this isn't good enough. That's why a change was made. And, this team as is, yes, they've won 3 games in a row for the first time all year, and they just aren't good enough. So he's got to examine the team, what needs to be done, and start doing it.
10:30 today, Paul, for him?
10:30, yes,
Okay.
and we will have it.
All right.
Equipment willing, but we will have it for you.
Thank you, Paul.
Take care, guys.
Paul Hamilton on the Wester Hotline. As the Sabres have made big changes, at least one big change. We'll see what the next few changes are going to be. Paul's appearance brought to you by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this. Howard is in the building. He will be here to pick the Bills. There aren't that many games left to pick. I guess we'll pick the playoffs.
We got to pick the playoffs.
I think we are at picking the playoffs. Yeah, There's only a couple of weeks left. Might as well do that. 803-0550 to join us. We'll talk to Owen Parker, senior goaltending correspondent, about goalie ideas at some point. Who are we going to trade for? Tell Jarmo to trade for somebody.
Start looking.
Trade.
My first idea is put a package together and send UPL with something to Nashville for UC Saros.
The idea that UPL has value to me is he's got 3 more years on a 4.75 for a guy that I would waive.
I think the only way you get anything of any kind of significance with him is packaging him in a deal. You want to send him with somebody to Vancouver. You want to send him and somebody to Nashville. Whatever you want to do, I think you got to do something with him.
What I would just ask about him is, like, when Paul says that, if somebody believes in him, they would give him something. I would agree with that. What reason would a single team in the NHL at this point have for believing he's a starting goaltender?
That's where I'm at.
Give me one reason.
I struggle to see, as a goalie,
the numbers don't show it,
and a former goalie, I don't see much there that would indicate it's going to get any better.
Right.
It's possible he gets hot. I say this about him all the time. He can get hot. We saw it happen. That's why he has the contract he has. But his game is not conducive to consistent success. It is not, and it will not be, in my opinion.
He made his NHL debut 5 years ago. He's had a 50-game stretch of being an NHL goaltender.
Never had success. Even when he was here in pro below the NHL, he was not consistently successful.
I'm with you. I don't know. If I'm another team and I'm getting rid of a goalie, I don't want him back. I don't want that contract.
No.
Because I'm not going to start him.
No.
I think you would be out of your mind as another NHL franchise to think he's going to come in as my number one. And if he's not my number one, then I'm paying a backup goalie more than $4 million a year.
And I mean, I say that, but the Edmonton Oilers traded a bunch of stuff for Tristan Jarry.
But
so
again,
I don't know.
Jarry I don't think is great either. Jarry's got more than 50 games of being an NHL goaltender.
Right. There is definitely a better track record there. And I still think that Jarry wasn't worth it.
Right.
The goalie market is always weird. You never know. But I don't see any NHL team that would be any smart team that would see him and go, that guy can play 50 games for us. I think you'd be putting yourself in a bad situation if you did that.